let's explore the dynamic world of content creation with a focus on a hotly debated topic: evolution of content, skills versus trends. As digital platforms continue to evolve, content creators find themselves balancing the mastery of their craft with the ever-changing trends of the industry.
And so to dive deeper into this discussion, we have two esteemed guests with us, one in the studio and one via video chat. On video chat, we have Ugolee, a veteran broadcaster and voiceover artist as well as author. And in the studio, we have Efe Omorogbe. He's a creative entrepreneur, Now Music, Buck Wild Media Network. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure from this end.
You're welcome and welcome. Pleasure. Yes, indeed. Ima, I want to start with you. First of all, it's like as if you work here now because you were with us last week. You're ever welcome. You're ever welcome to. But let's talk about the basics now. From your perspective as a broadcaster, how have you seen the landscape of content creation change from over the years? And yes, you have been in the landscape for years. What role do skills play in the evolving environment?
Very unfortunately, there happens to have been some degree of an adulteration as time has gone by. It used to be very, very solidly backed by talent, but now the obsession for trend by dopamine conscious consumer is such a big deal. So I was telling someone the other day that did you realize that village headmaster, as interesting as that was actually short and aired live the way we are on live now. Those guys were so professional, so talented, with not just the scripting, the performance, but to the very last, the delivery technically, that we didn't realize that every time we saw it New Masquerade with Zebediah and the rest, it was always live. It was never recorded. That's how professional we were. But we're not like that anymore. Content creation now has been thoroughly weakened by the idea of trending, by the idea of being very sensational. Of course, because lately it has very easily translated to not just more eyeballs, but much more money.
Mr. Efe, last week we had Ima here with us, and he gave us a very interesting, well, it was off of his piece, which he wrote after Brain Jotta's trend with the Brain Jotta challenge. So that's where this was coming from, the fact that something so simple could set the world on fire with everybody replicating exactly what he had done. I'm sure, Judith, you've got something to tell about that.
Oh, yes, indeed. I love it so far because also everyone has also put a bit of twist on it as well. And you can now see how it's now left just the shores of Nigeria to the globe at large. And so it begs to ask the question as well. You've been in the industry for years and have successfully built an industry, or rather a brand, with content and creation long before now. How have you seen it evolve? Do you think that social media has also played a key role to that? Is it a matter of skill and trend? Because this is a very trending thing, and skill isn't necessarily required.
Social media killed skill.
No, I do not agree with you.
That's not a position. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I did not agree with that social media does not require skill. My position, I hear him, totally. However, I think the issue really is about the democratization of the process of, creating and disseminating content. The days Ima, refers to, it was practically impossible for individuals to just create content and disseminate them. If you're going to disseminate them, it was very limited reach, right? Because you had to put it on TV, and there were just a few TV stations, just a few hours. In the heydays of New Masquerade, television broadcasting probably started at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. in the evening and wrapped up at midnight. And in between those 5, 6, 8 hours, you had to cram everything from news to entertainment to, sitcoms and all of that. So now technology has democratized everything. We can create content right here, now, and 1 minute later, it's available for consumption, right? So it's the democratization, and with that, everybody and their cousins and their grandmothers, are content creators by default. So when you open up a space like that, of course, there will be the good, the bad, the ugly, and the outrightly ridiculous. Now, so trend, the issue of trend is really down to some kind of spontaneous viral reaction to a particular content. And it's really even hard to identify what exactly will trend, right? But particularly if you want to work within the confines of intelligence, of respect, of propriety, of creativity, of skill, then you have to work 4 times as hard. If in the course of this interview I take off my shirt and I bang on this table, it's likely going to trend. Not
please do it. Go on already. Let's have a trend.
Not because it makes more sense than what anybody else has done here today. Not because it's anything compared to the sublimity and the depth of the knowledge that Ugolee shared last week, but because it's disruptive, it's unexpected, it's all that. So I think it's digitalization, it's social media, it's the democratization of content creation and dissemination. There's still people doing serious content. There are people deploying $200 million to create, and it's still content. It might not be readily available, on Instagram or something, but it's still content.
Right.
So
I mean, I have to ask the both of you this next question. The rise of social media has certainly accelerated the pace at which content is being churned out, and with that, trend as well. So with that pace, trend comes and goes. So how do you think this impacts the longevity and the quality of the content being produced today? Because quality is kind of important, isn't it? Because I mean, you made a statement before we went on air about how we're being barraged of so much skits and videos and content.
It is madness. This time 25 years ago, there were skits. My first encounter with skits was Tunda Omeobe and the Charlie Boy Show. There were skits, right? Creative, really cool skits. But again, contextualize it. You produce those skits, they have to, be vetted. They have to be TV friendly. They have to be family, and all of that. Then you have to embed that inside a Charlie Boy Show, a variety fun TV show that comes on once a week, right?
On a specific
platform, on a specific day, and all that.
And it gives you enough time for you to prep and write it.
But skits are popping up. So let's put this into context. Music, for example, Spotify has roughly 70,000 music uploads every day. 70,000 releases on the average every single day. I was checking out the numbers. YouTube has between 3.5 to 3.7 million uploads every day of videos that are between like 4 minutes, to 4.5 minutes on the average. So how do you cut through the clutter? It's worse than a barrage. It's a tsunami of content.
Well, what about the effect? I want to ask you now. Let's talk about the effect of that barrage of content that we're spontaneous, ready to use, ready to go viral content. Now, how does it affect people who spend 200 million, for instance, like say he has just told, on a specific project? They pay attention to detail, they're very Puritan about it. Has that killed the art of being specific or deliberate when it comes to content creation? And I say exactly, that skill versus trend there. Has it killed it, Ima?
On a big yes, without any, I'm not even thinking twice about it. And this is because, like Efe rightly mentioned, that become an all-comers affair. So the degree of control that is had is very big. And there's something you must also realize. I'm very happy that you mentioned longevity. Longevity because back in the day, for something to trend, you hardly found something trending without the basic foundation of talent. Talent was present, talent was established, talent was accepted, talent stayed for a while, then talent began to trend. And then you would notice that proper process had led talent into a space where when it trended, it lasted for a while. It didn't matter what it was in the industry of entertainment or fashion. If you had a Bobby Brown haircut, that thing went on for over 2-3 years. The same thing with a Mike Tyson haircut. The girls will tell you about an Anita Baker hairstyle. Not just the hairstyles here, but the songs, the methods, the language, anything that began to trend would stay for quite a while. But you would notice today that something that was trending today in 3, 4, 5 minutes is gone. And that is a big problem. Longevity is something that has been stolen away from the idea of trends in quote. Another thing is that with trends versus talent, anything can ride on the back of trends, just about anything. But with talent, it's really hard to find something riding on its back if it wasn't solid and had the potential to both have impact and also stay a while. So with talent, just about anything, with trend, just about anything can run on it. I'll give you a good example. If you're, an ardent follower of the internet or social media space like most of us are, there's a trend now of young girls coming out and being very brazen, very open, very solidly proud of the fact that their bodies can be run through as long as you have the money to pay for it. It has become a trend. There are guests on every single podcast. They are getting spaces on blogs as motivational speakers. They are influencing youngsters by the second. It's a major trend that's going on, but it is extremely morally questionable. It is wrong. So the thing that we need to understand here is the fact that trend and talent can live in isolation. Something that is very talented can be there without being a trend. We have a lot of very talented people, very talented acts that have never really found a viral feel to their presence. But we have a lot of crap and emptiness, debased things that are
you've just stepped into a territory that is very contested right now, and it's blogs. And it's exactly what you just spoke about. It's people coming out to tell whatever they want to tell, no matter how debasing, and being rewarded for it by trending. What responsibility does Nedu? I mean, what responsibility do blog runners, people who run blogs, have for the
podcasts?
And rather, I meant podcasts actually. What responsibility do podcast owners have when it comes to putting out these kinds of content? If I slipped today, it was intentional.
Beyond podcast owners, they're all in the same group. Gatekeepers have really never been talent-driven in our country. Gatekeepers, the people who are responsible for the outlets for getting the rest of the world to see what the creative cook, they've never really been the extremely talented. And it's a big problem because for them, the obsession is trending. For them, the obsession is the money and the eyeballs that come. Let me take you way back to show you how much of a problem this has always been with us. You see, in the movie industry, for example, the talented ones, the educated ones, the intelligent ones, the ones that really knew what it was supposed to be about, were never in charge of the business. You know who was in charge of the business? The average trader who was in all the motor markets. They were the guys who were in charge. And because they were just crazy about what was going to trend, now this method is changed. Now this one we done to snake, they change. Now the 419 story, they change. Now it's ritual story, they trend. That's what they're about. They're not about any creativity. They're not interested in talent. Now, this guy thinks they sell movie.
So
this guy thinks they sell movie. It's not about how talented they are. So the people who are in charge, so that's why I'm coming to the blogs now. You always find out that we always had people in charge that didn't know anything about talent. We're just crazy about trends. So there was a time that the likes of RMD, it was Nkemo War, it was Genevieve, it was a bunch of them came out and said, hey, we want $1 million going forward per movie. And you don't know what happened? This guy from Idumota, this Igbo trader sat down and banned them from the industry.
Oh.
You should probably remember the story.
Yes.
They were banned because they were dealing with people who were, crazy about the trend and the money for them. The story was no different with Alaba. With creative people, even people who went to school and studied music, even people who write music like Dari and Kobams, they were at the mercy of Alaba traders with their music because the guy who was behind as a gatekeeper was interested in the trending and not in the talent, which just naturally cascades into your question.
Wow.
The bloggers are no different. The bloggers are no different. The bloggers are no different. The bloggers, do you think that they're interested in an industry that's going to blow up? No, they're interested in 100,000 comments. They're interested in a million views because it's going to translate to more money for them, more traffic, and probably even more fame for those who are particularly maybe obsessed with wanting to be famous as well. So it's not the more debased and the more of a crowd it pleases with no concern about any kind of talent whatsoever, the more they will give it out. So yes, that has always been a problem for us in Nigeria.
Thank you, Imam.
Those that are in charge of creative stuff going out have never really been interested in talent, just trends.
Thank you.
And it's very interesting. You said the creatives and those who are the gatekeepers are not interested in talent. They're interested in trends, or they're not interested in skills. They're interested in trends.
No, let me edit that statement. Most, not all, most of a good number of. So Ima is very correct, but also Ima and I we've had this conversation for almost 20 years. I don't exactly agree. Why do I say that? It's always a case of the chicken and the egg, right? Which comes first? Is it, art reflective of the taste palette of the audience, or the other way around, right? Is it art mimicking life or life mimicking art? So, why do I say I do not agree? Ugolee was one of the main movers in what is called Afrobeats today. I don't know how many people know. There are not many young people watching, this show and recognize the contribution of someone like Ugolee. And what was Ima's major play? It was a show called, Top 10, videos on MBI. With that show, with a video countdown created by Ugolee with an MBI, standards were set. It provided a credible alternative. So, like you mentioned, this has always been the case where there's a populist and there's the purist, right? And so people who wanted to check out, if you had a good quality music, you had good quality video, and you wanted it on air, you go look for Ugolee, right? If you had bad music, crappy video, and you had all the marketing budgets that was necessary, if you go to Ima's show, you're not going to get any spin. But for every Ugolee, there was 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 other gatekeepers who really didn't care about, the quality of what you're bringing.
So every brand has its audience.
Yes, every brand has its audience, right? And I was watching from a distance. I met him, we became friends. We produced a couple. We've had a 25-year relationship based on just the fact that there's a convergence of thoughts, of ideas, of ideals, right? In terms of how we want to approach the business. But there's always been some guy on radio, on TV, some gatekeeper, some playlist maker, some curator, some librarian, whose interest was totally different. And that is the reflection of the psyche of the people, right? So I think, so there's nothing really we can do about trends and skill.
So how then can we find
to find that precarious, positive and productive balance. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll give you a practical example. Some of the best films, if you check the Oscar awards, for example, some movies get Oscar nominations before even industry buffs like us, right? Industry players, enthusiasts, the people whose business it is to know about certain releases. Some movies get Oscar nods before we are even aware of their existence, right? Some people win Grammys, they get Grammy nominations, they win Grammys. People rant that how could this guy have won over this other guy before a majority of the audience globally start going to search for this person. I said, guy won. He won an award over who? This person won over Beyonce. This person won over Burna Boy. How could this person have won over Burna Boy? And they start searching. So it's not really a Nigerian problem per se, right? The balance between art, the balance between quality and the populist, popular, trending stuff, it's always there. It's always going to be there. And the biggest films, the biggest products, are the ones that people use. Check out Bad Boys, for example, Bad Boys 4, Ride or Die. The social media, the marketing plan, pre-release marketing plan was a movie.
So
on
it's a
its
case of
own.
social media supporting skill.
Yes, right? So, and that's why, and when you said, the social media stuff does not require skill, I disagreed, because it's very easy to sit and think that a lot of these things are random. Even with the TikTok videos, the time and energy that people put in mastering how to edit those videos, how to shoot them, how to,
should be
yes,
appreciated.
they might not be as enduring, right? But they're impactful and they're driving numbers, and there's a method to the madness.
So how then can one?
Sorry, go ahead.
How then can brands adopt, and even content creators, creatives? I like to call everyone creatives.
Which serious brand is driving marketing today without incorporating social media marketing or influencer marketing? If you're still doing that, you're probably
Has
stuck in the
influencer
80s.
marketing taken away from traditional marketing?
So the question is, if you're marketing, who are you marketing to? You're marketing to the audience, right? You want to sell your product. Where are the people? The people you're trying to sell your beer product to, your whatever product to, where are they? They're on social media, right? So if you ignore that platform, those platforms, and you want to be purist, you end up speaking to yourself.
Indeed, you are right. It's very targeted. It's very specific that if you get one content creator, he has a specific audience. For instance, if you wanted to sell body spray to Agberos, for instance, maybe you go after Brother Shaggy. However, but Ima, let me come to you in terms of regulation, in terms of self-regulation when it comes to content, especially on social media. Is there a self-regulating mechanism that people should have in place, or do we have to have the government or authorities get involved? I give you an instance. Only just last month or 2 months ago, we had the National Film Censorship Board requesting that there should be no more depiction of cigarettes or ritual killings, even in skits. So where does that responsibility lie? Is it with the people who make the creators, or with the authorities? Or do we have to let it get to a stage where the authorities have to get involved like we saw 2 months ago? Ima, please.
Yes. Yeah, so I believe very seriously in the power of one. Like my brothers there would say, the power of one. Everybody, for a start, have a sense of personal responsibility. That is usually missing. If objectifying women in your skit is getting a lot of attention, but is completely destroying a mentality of the people, of the youngsters, of everybody, the way women are looked at, for example, you probably want to start thinking twice about it as an individual. The government would not be able to influence the way that you begin to look at your scripting, because you're responsible enough to understand the impact on society. Then again, of course, like you mentioned, the regulatory bodies that have been put in place, for some reason, they've never really been properly functional, to be as honest as it is. And most of the time, when they do certain things, we're just wowed by either the ignorance or how dinosauric the thinking is, or how outdated the idea is. At one point, they banned "Let's Talk About Sex," which was a song by Salt and Pepper that was actually encouraging that we talk to young girls about sex. So I'm like, is somebody not listening? Meanwhile, the body at that point would let a song like R. Kelly's "Ignition" play. Ignition is pornography in words and music. So we've never also really had people who are enlightened enough to understand what the regulation should be about. But before I, stop what I was going to say, what I'm saying, I wanted to quickly address something that Efe was mentioning. In Nigeria, we have a peculiar problem. He said it wasn't just a Nigerian problem. I agree, worldwide there's always that debate going on. But in Nigeria, we have a peculiar problem with being trend obsessed. We are obsessed with trends. It doesn't matter what it's about. If it's about business, all you need is a tiny iota of success. Tomorrow morning, everybody's in that line of business. If it's anything, and we lose identity every day with that mentality. I'll give you a good example. You know what's happening to us that we don't realize right now? Our sound, our own sound, the Nigerian sound, is gradually fading. It's fading because we are obsessed with whatever drops Remember when Ghana's Azonto was on, everything we produced sounded like that. Right now, there is nobody who's not producing in Nigeria that does not have Amapiano in what he or she is doing. So you see that traditional indigenous music that we have, the things that the flavors used to play, it's going. It is still gradually becoming extinct because we are too trend conscious. So as a people, and to think it is very erroneous to believe that you cannot marry trend and quality. Talent and trend can very beautifully go together. I mean, the likes of, that's why I respect MI, Vector. You know why? Because these guys have not diluted the quality of the rap music that they deliver, but they give you a reason to move to it, to bob your head to it, or probably even dance to it like an MI will have a flavor on a song and have some really groovy beat to it. Now, the ability to transform your real hip-hop lyrics into something commercial is genius. It's talent at work. So you don't have to be all, like if they would say very, extremely purist and say you don't advocate hip-hop. No.
Ugolee, is that not pop culture in and of itself when you think about it? Because African-American music, when you talk about R&B, jazz, pop, funk, they all evolved, and now it's now imbibed by the entire world.
Even
and
if
it's now the world pop culture. And genres have, and because of that, genres have evolved. I mean, what we consider to be pop years ago is different. What we consider to be R&B and jazz years ago have evolved time. So in this context, Nigerian music being adopted globally, isn't that pop culture?
Yeah, but you can still tell that it's the same thing evolving you're listening to. You see, so Osadebe's brand of high life music is still what J Martins and Flavor is playing, but you can still tell that there's an evolution. We are not evolving with the music, we're moving with whatever the world is crazy about. America's R&B, somehow, you would still know that Bobby Brown's Rock With You is still close to what, Chris Brown or
Coco Jones
or whoever
and all the others.
is doing right now. Yeah, you can still find the thread that runs through both of them. But we're not thinking along that line. We're just conscious about what is it that is hot.
Sorry, Michael. I'm sorry, I have to stop you. I might have to stop because I can feel Efe's aura wanting to say something.
Aura for aura. It's been aura for aura. The testosterone in this place. It's only me. I'm doing my best to water it down.
Because that needs a...
I said this is a 20-year-old banter.
You're a PR master. You've taken advantage of the industry when it comes to trend. You've taken advantage of sound. You've taken advantage over the years. You've hidden bushes just to attack people and say, this is trending now.
Bushes?
Yes, he has. Actually, ask him.
Have you?
He's the PR assassin. So what do you have to say about that?
So I respect man's position. However, there's a fine line, a very fine line. I don't think the Amapiano that's created in Nigeria is the same texture as the one that's played in South Africa. And I think that's evolution. Like I think that's pop culture. If you rewind back to 15 years and you play 10 of the biggest hit records, maybe 7 of them, were reggaeton inspired. Whether it's coming from R. Kelly, coming from Daddy Yankee, or coming from, Two Shots or Big Low, it was
their own twist on it.
Their own twist, yeah. So with pop culture is an evolution, and with creativity, you really, really, really cannot gatekeep creativity and trends. You can gatekeep the media focus, you can gatekeep the analysis, you can gatekeep. So in the midst of all of this stuff, so have you noticed that the crop of artists we have today over the last 5-6 years, right? The guys that are coming through are really, really making an impact in the Nigerian music scene. Have you noticed that the quality of their vocal performances is considerably higher than what you had like 10 years before?
Agreed. This happens in music, but in creation, social media creativity, it seems to be the opposite because it tends to dumb down to reach more people.
Good. So this is how it works. So I say it's a balance. There's nothing you can do about it, right?
Is that a testament to our populace and our education level?
Anything that stops growing starts dying, right? Where are the dinosaurs? But the lizards are here, the alligator is here, right? But the dinosaurs, they make it because, of the ability to adapt. So, Ima's position, Ima is let's say Ima is right wing, right? I'm a bit of a middle guy, right? Now, the left guys, they're a threat because they'll do anything for the numbers, right? But I'm advocating the precarious. So when you were saying what you said, you used the word established, and I started laughing. That was the energy you felt. I was laughing because when you said established, the first that came to my mind was Esther was black and broke.
Establish.
Now Esther see money.
Establish.
It is the corniest, most stupid
joke.
But it'll cause you to think.
It doesn't even make sense. Establish. But it's so fun that if you think too much about it, if you overanalyze it, you will develop high blood pressure for nothing, right? For no reason. So the thing about trends and varieties, okay, it has come and it's gone. But every
like
time,
Ima
right? So Ima is correct. The trends don't last as long as they used to, right? And again, because you back in the day, you see Bobby Brown trend is talent, but it's not trending just because it's talent. It's trending because it has a behemoth of a record label behind him. They have people, that marketing team. They drop these records. They go everywhere from David Letterman's show to this to that, and they're everywhere, right? And they've set the trend. Back in the day, 6 guys could sit down in one room somewhere in Hollywood and decide that person that the camera caught on the street 2 weeks ago in Paris or in Milan or in Lagos is going to be the next big thing. Haven't you heard of the phrase industry plants?
Yeah.
That people pick, they just decide, I like this guy. Or,
I'm going to make this guy
I'm going to make this guy famous.
Mini vanilla.
All the buzz, all the resistance you had towards Mariah Carey, as brilliant as she was as a vocalist, where was that coming from? Because she was Tom Motola's girlfriend and later wife. And they're saying, are you going to just pick this girl and just throw her above everybody? And, so it's all about today. It's completely democratized.
We're out of time, but I still want to pose one question to Ima Ugolee. Ima, please, real quick. Now, we see a lot of influence when it comes to our movie space, Nollywood. In itself also is evolving. Some people would argue that it's evolving downward because you have content creators, movie makers now, producers who will just simply churn out a million things out there just so they can get the numbers on YouTube, while you have Puritans who would choose specific streaming platforms and specific audience on these platforms. Now, that rush to get numbers, is it affecting our Nollywood space, which is a big one? If you go to Hungary, there's a community of people who strictly watch Nigerian movies. Go to Turkey, the same thing. Morocco as well. Is it dumbing down our Nollywood industry, would you say?
We have a blessing called our stories, Somehow they're so powerful that the world is quick to overlook all the technical jargon that we throw out. We make the most unforgivable technical mistakes with our movies, but our stories are so powerful that the world enjoys them and don't even care for, whether the lighting was right or whether continuity was cool. You slapped her, and by the time she turned her face, she had a different hairstyle, and all that stuff, but we have allowed that acceptance and the numbers and Nollywood is growing, second biggest, all that has stopped us from being very, interested in quality and improvement of our technicality in Hollywood. They shoot movies that takes them 10 years, 15 years. I just heard today about a movie that will be released in 100 years. It was shot in 2015. They say it's going to be released in 100. For whatever reason, I think they're following something through that would, show what the world will be like in 100 years' time. And that's when they want to show that movie. That kind of painstaking dedication, we don't have it. We still shoot movies under 3 days, my brother. You still have one of the things that hurt me about Rachel Oniga when I found out was that Mama was actually on 3 sets or so at the same time. That still happens. How in the world, tell anybody in the world who's serious about movie production that you're an actor and that you are on 3 different sets as we speak. They would think that you are a joker. But that happens every other day in Nigeria. So yes, I agree with you that we enjoy all that goes on in terms of numbers, in terms of platforms. But somehow we have refused to, we have let that stop us from concentrating on improving technically. And, you know, I just very quickly want to say that, have you noticed what happened to Nollywood when the people who know better, who became a little conscious about quality, began to touch executive producing parts? The Moabudus, the Kulia Lions, or whatever their names are, you know, when these people began, have you noticed what happened? Did you notice the difference in the stories? Did you notice the quality? Did you notice that it was okay now to show your friend that this was a Nigerian production? It got better. And so I insist that talent and quality can trend. The biggest rap artist in America today, and probably as we speak, America has accepted, is probably the biggest rap artist they have ever seen.
Absolutely right, Ima.
We're pretty much out of time at this point.
We're really pressed.
Ima, we're pressed for time, but very wonderful discussion we've had so far. I want to thank the both of you for sharing valuable insights on the evolution of, you know, content creation, and also dabbled into music and Nollywood.
We touched everything.
And we pretty much touched on everything. I mean, thank you once again. It just helped us navigating this. It's very clear that the conversation doesn't end here, and it must continue to be had. We have to continue to have these conversations. Like you said, like if you said, this is a conversation, the banter the both of you have had for 20 years running. 25 years. And so it's very clear that we have to continue to have these conversations over and over again. Ima Ugolee, he's a veteran broadcaster, voiceover artist, and author. Ima Ugolee, thank you. Also, Efe Omorogbe, he's a creative entrepreneur, Now Music, Buckwild Media Network. Gentlemen, many thanks again.
Thank you very much.
A pleasure.
A pleasure.